Drop the beat on this episode of the Level Cap Podcast, where I talk about all things Level 99 games, news, Brad, or otherwise. Welcome to the Level Cap Podcast, the special podcast where we do talk about all things Level 99 games, Brad or otherwise. And since Brad is not here, we have Otherwise, also known as Charles Engstrom or Moon Knight. Is that correct?
Correct, you are, sir. Hi, nice seeing you again.
Wait, okay, can we clarify that we are not actually seeing each other?
Sure. Hearing from you? Is that correct?
Ah, indeed, yes. Okay, I'll accept that. It's great to hear from you again, Charles. Can you introduce yourselves to the listeners, just in case they haven't listened to your episode, or they haven't listened to the Level Cap Podcast at all on this, the first episode? Who are you? Why are you on this podcast?
Oh, sure. So my name is Charles Engstrom. I am reigning world champion of BattleCon, the physical game, 3 years running, and BattleCon Online player and a general player of all games board-wise, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Oh, I mean, that's a perfect introduction. Aren't you also the person who created Syndra?
Oh,
yes?
Yeah. I've created a couple of characters. Syndra is the one that's currently in-game, but I've created some other characters as well that I'm hoping will enter the board game soon enough. But we'll see about that. I mean, it's still in the stages that I probably shouldn't talk too much about it, right?
Yeah. Shh. NDAs. We sign NDAs for a reason, Charles. So, what do you call this? Welcome to the Level Cap Podcast. We have a wonderful docket for all of you tonight. Usually, we would be broadcasting to you live from sunny Albuquerque, New Mexico, and dark Manila, Philippines. Instead, we have dark Manila, Philippines, and
Sweden, south of Sweden, Trelleborg currently, but yeah, it's gonna.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it dark? It's rainy.
It's like midday because it's between the two places, right? So
I see. So you're like the median or the mode median mean. Wait, what's the math meaning average? It's mean, right?
Oh, median is... Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about the English.
Okay, then what's the Swedish?
It's median in Swedish. So, I mean...
I guess that's it.
It's probably something up to that nature, right?
All right, mathematicians who are listening to this podcast, please tell us in the comments down below whether or not it's mean, median, or mode. I mean, I took 12-something units of math in university and still don't know. But I can tell you how to do advanced trigonometric equations.
That's good, right? I mean,
I guess it hasn't helped me in my adult life, but okay.
It will come up sometime, and you'll be like, "Whoa, I know this." And
I'm going to bleep that out. Remember, this is a family-friendly podcast, Charles. I'm going to have to censor you. It is okay. I'm going to censor you with a funny sound effect. Maybe give me a funny sound effect that you would use to censor yourself.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't do funny sound effects.
And then I'll make one. Boop. That will be the censor. Yeah, I'll censor you with boop. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, something like that. All right. So, Charles, let's move on to our first segment of the day. Are you ready for the first segment? Charles, I really am interested. Please, tell me, what have you been doing?
Oh, I've been, going around doing nothing much. No, I've been playing some games and, watching some TV and stuff like that. I watched the latest movie I watched on cinema was Infinity War. Was kind of okay.
Okay.
It's like it has no build up inside the movie, so you have to see all the movies before to get a comprehend.
Yeah, that makes sense,
right? So as a standalone movie, it's not that good, but as a culmination of all the other 10 movies or whatever it is, it's something you want to see, right?
I guess it would be something you want to see if you've watched all the past Marvel movies for the past, 10 years?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Oh my
and
gosh.
kinda, it's like Marvel is such a statement for the Hollywood blockbuster right now, right? So you almost see all of the movies. I think I've missed like one or two of the movies between Last Avengers and this Avenger movie, right? Or Infinity
Really?
War? Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And
Wow.
then I've watched
That's still a
everything
lot.
else. So.
You've watched way more than I have.
I mean,
I have only watched, oh my gosh, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Avengers 1, Thor Ragnarok. I think that's it. I haven't watched anything else.
I feel like you're missing out on things then, because, I mean, there are a lot of things that you, small hints to the older movies, or, Easter eggs that you catch up on. For example...
Oh, wait. Let's be clear. I haven't watched Infinity War.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, sure.
No,
but
it's okay. It's okay. You can spoil me. It's fine. But here's the thing. Audience, spoiler warning on Infinity War, so, you might want to skip ahead.
I don't have to spoil a lot, but I mean, for example, you get a lot more out of the start of Infinity War if you watched movies like Doctor Strange, for example, than you would have if you hadn't. I think, because I can't go back and not watch Doctor Strange and then watch Infinity Wars, so I can't give a opinion of that. So Marco has to watch Infinity Wars now, and then go back and watch Doctor Strange, and then watch it again to give a honest.
No, wait. I've watched Doctor Strange. Sorry, I've watched Doctor Strange.
Okay, sure. So
I can't do that. I mean, I think it's my favorite Marvel movie at least.
I mean,
maybe I just have a bias towards blended cucumbers.
That's fair, and I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, Behinel dried carbohydrates is a great actor.
Yeah, sure. I guess. Anyway,
what games have you been playing? So you watched Infinity War?
Yeah.
But you talked about games. This is a gaming podcast, man. What did you play?
Sure. So, do you want to talk board games, or do you want to talk games online?
Any, bro. Any.
I mean, I played all the games. That's kind of a lie.
That's not a valid answer. That's not a valid answer.
That's not a valid answer. I know. So I've been playing. I played one game of Argent recently with when the new stuff came, right?
How was it?
Oh, it's good. It's Argent. It's amazing, but it takes a lot of getting into, especially with people, that haven't played it before, because the entrance level of the game is kind of high. But once you get into it, it's super fun. I really love that game. It's my favorite worker placement game. Then we played 7-Man Caverna, which I haven't done before, because you don't usually get 7 people together in a room that says, "Oh yeah, let's play a worker placement game." It's gonna take forever.
Oh my gosh! So, how long does it take you to play that game?
Oh, it's I would say 40 minutes a player and 7 players. So yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah,
that is rough, dude. It's like a 4-hour commitment. Jeez.
I mean, as long as everyone knows what they're getting into, and it's a lot of fun. So
I guess. Okay, here's my question to you. Have you played Imperial Spells in Steam?
I've
Kickstarter for which can be found in the description down below. By the way, please back the game. We need it. Get us some stretch goals and art books.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the game. I've played some of it, and I've looked through the rule book and stuff like that, and it's like a lot of level 99 games usually is. It's so much extra that you will never play the same game twice. Which is super interesting to me, and that's why I love actually level 99 games, because whatever you do, you can never really 100% calculate absolutely everything in the game, and you have replayability forever, basically.
Yeah, it's impossible, man. It's impossible.
Yeah.
What do you call this? So you've played a little bit. I love Imperial. It's great. I'm not sure whether I love it more than Argent or Millennium Blades.
I like Argent better, But that's because I really love Argent. I mean, it's like my favorite game ever, and
Of
it's
all time?
well, maybe not. I mean, I will have to go back, and it's depending on mood, right? But it's one of those
I
games
guess, yeah.
that I want to play when I really don't have the time. You go in and
Yeah.
you say like, "Oh, I want to play a game tonight," and it's like, "Yeah, sure, we can play something." And it's like, we could play Argent and another game, and then it's like, let's start with the other game that's kind of lighter, and then go into the heavier game, and the lighter game takes a bit longer because it always does. Then
Always.
it always does. And then you're left with Argent, and your time is basically running out. And you have like 2 hours to finish Argent, and the game is getting kind of stretchy. You're feeling like, ooh, maybe I won't make it, but then you do, or maybe you don't. And it's one of those
Hash brown
games.
sketch.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I understand that feeling, man. Like, I played Mage Wars once, and with my friends, and I was like, "Hey guys, here's a cool dueling game that because I hooked them on board games with BattleCon first. Can you believe that? But so I was like, hey, there's like a simultaneous reveal mechanic, kind of like in BattleCon-ish, maybe. And then they were like, okay, let's try this game. And then on the box, it said something along the lines of like 45 minutes or like 1 hour. And I was like, okay, that's obviously not going to be true. This is going to be our first time playing it. And I know my friends play slow. So I was like, this might take us 2.5 hours. And they're like, hey, 2.5 hours, not bad. All right. So we started the game at 12 lunchtime and ended the game at 7 p.m. And I was like, oh, yeah. Why did this take so long?
I've been disallowed from my friends to pick to say the time of games because I once played Letters from Whitechapel, and it was like, oh, how long does it take? And I was like, well, at least an hour, and the game takes like 4 hours or something. But it's at least 1 hour, so I didn't lie.
I mean, that's correct. You're not wrong.
But they weren't as impressed. But then later it became like something we were joking about and stuff like that. So yeah, I get to hear it just still, So yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah, what you been doing, Marco?
I mean, I could talk about either playing video games or maybe talking about this TV show I've been watching, but in the end, I think I'll just do both. So for video games, since I've been doing that less, I've been playing Magic the Gathering Arena, which is the new video game Magic game that basically tries to be Hearthstone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it's pretty fun. I've basically spent a lot of time watching people make stupid decks and just trying out those stupid decks. So, all Magic players listening to this podcast. Do you play Magic, by the way, Charles? Do you play Magic?
I did play Magic a while ago, like 10 years ago or something. But then I realized...
That's not a while.
I mean, it is a while, right?
I guess. Okay.
So I did play it for like 10 years ago or something. But I realized that if I was going to keep on playing other board games as well, it was either Magic the Gathering or, any other, a lot of other games. And I decided to not play Magic the Gathering because it took too much of my time and money, basically.
Yeah, that's true. Which is why I usually play the video game versions of these games, because I'm totally fine with grinding stuff, so I don't really want to spend real life money on Magic cards because I'm not rich enough. But so yeah, I've been watching people play stupid decks. There was this one deck I saw from what's his name? Kenji Egishira. But he's a popular Magic streamer / pro player. There was a deck that he made that basically almost crashed the game when he played it, because it's one of those embalm decks. Like when a card's in your graveyard, you can embalm it and summon a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a zombie or something like that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but there's an enchantment that's like whenever you would create a token, create double the number instead. And then he got 2 of that same enchantment out. So every time he would create 1 token, it would get doubled and then doubled again. So he would make 4 for every 1 token he created, essentially.
Okay, cool. So it's not create
So
one extra; it's actually doubling.
yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, what he did was he summoned a thing that basically said every time a unit enters the battlefield on your side or something, you gain 1 life. So he had 4 of those out, and then he would summon 200 something tokens in one turn, and then it would trigger the 4 dudes who would heal him every time he summoned the token. And then basically there were over 400 something things on the stack, and then I think that almost crashed the client. So, I mean, basically when I saw that, I was like, that's the deck I will play. So my win condition is to crash the opponent's game.
I mean,
and see how great their processor is, huh?
That seems like a terrible game anyway. It's terrible for so many reasons.
I win the moral victory because either A, they get too tired to go through all the animations, B, their computer dies, or C, they get too bored and just concede. Because by the end of it all, you have like 400 something life. And like, I don't think any deck can eat through 400 life when you have also 400 tokens on the field. So
you have to play the milling deck, where I just described.
Oh my. Yeah, just mill me. That's the only way you'll win. Just through milling. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's that. I've also been watching a TV show called Grimm. It's pretty fun. I like it. The concept is kind of cool. There's a police detective who finds out that he actually comes from a long line of monster hunters, and his aunt dies. Okay, and because of that, like, apparently the power is passed on when people in your family die. So when his aunt died, he got the powers, and because of that, he started seeing things, because apparently people around the world aren't all people. Some of them are called and it's a German word, I think. It's like Wesen or something. It means like they're monster people. So, you know, they're werewolves, vampires. But there's also like cool monsters like, you know, puffer fish people and volcano people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically the entire show is him trying to reconcile both sides of his life. On one hand, he's a police detective who has to stop people from killing people, or at least catch murderers. On the other hand, he's also a monster hunter who has to kill these Wesen, but they only appear as monsters to him. To everybody else, they're people. So basically, on one side of the coin, he's a police officer. On the other side of the coin, he's basically a murderer-ish. Like, even if these monsters are terrorizing people, to other people, they're just people, right?
Yeah.
So to any other person, it looks like he's just murdering people in cold blood. So he's like trying to reconcile both sides of his life. It's a pretty fun show. Came out 10 years ago. Jeez. So like the CGI is totally dated. Like, oh my gosh.
I think I've seen
CGI.
like 1 or 2 episodes of it, but I remember it as being good, but it's a while ago. I also
I really...
Yeah.
What? Yeah?
Yeah, sure. I really find it interesting that this always happens to police officers, because I've been watching another series that you might as well. It's on Netflix. It's called Lucifer, I think. Yeah, Lucifer.
I heard that they canceled that.
Yeah, but I've just watched the first 2 seasons. I think there is a third one or something.
Okay.
And
how is it?
I found it okay. It's kind of cheesy, but hey.
What's the story? Oh, so it's like, is a police officer Lucifer? Is Lucifer a police officer?
No, I mean, kinda. It's kind of weird. Lucifer basically comes to Earth because he gets tired of hell, or something like that, and he finds himself in like as a club owner or stuff like that, and then he gets recruited by as a consultant of the Miami police force. No, not Miami. San Francisco. I can't remember.
Okay.
Some police force.
So he's basically Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, basically. He helps out with weird stuff like that. Yeah. It's kind of complicated, but it's a weird show. I kind of like it.
So the devil is a police officer is essentially what the show's core thesis is.
Yeah. I mean, he's trying to, make himself look better in the eyes of human society, basically, because the devil gets a bad rap, and they take the no man is purely evil and stuff like that. So yeah,
I see. So wait, is he actually not that bad? Like in the show, is he actually not that bad, and humans just kind of blow out of proportion how bad hell actually is?
well,
Or
basically hell is hell. So you go there to make all the bad stuff because of all the bad stuff you've done during your lifetime.
okay,
But Lucifer is basically a fallen angel, right? So he's still an angel-ish character. So he considers himself after millions and millions of years, he considers himself bad, but he is good. I don't really know, good at his core or something like that. It's kind of complicated, and I haven't watched everything, so no spoilers in the chat below or something like that.
Yeah, please, please don't no spoilers.
Because I
no Infinity War spoilers either.
No Infinity War spoilers. No spoilers. Period. There will be no spoilers.
Yeah. There will be no Thanos demands you silence. Yeah. So that's what we've been doing, but I think people really want to move on to the next segment.
Sure.
Because this is the juicy segment, called the Charles segment. This will literally just be the Charles segment. I don't even think we'll have a level 99 question segment, because we're going to be asking you a lot of questions in this segment. So, Charles, we brought you onto this show to ask you 2 important questions.
2?
1.
Okay.
2, not just... But there's a lot of sub-questions. Like those math problems where they're like, oh, there's only 3 questions, but there's like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of like that. So we want to ask you, number 1, let's talk about your tournament experience, both in BattleCon offline and BattleCon online. Mm-hmm. And then 2, let's talk about what you feel about balance in BattleCon online, especially with Anath coming out. By the time this podcast comes out, I think Anath will also be out, or at least near coming out. So we'll see. So let's ask with the first one. So how's your BattleCon tournament experience so far? Let's start with offline. How was your tournament? I mean, look, we all know how it ended. We know you won, but how was it? How is it to be able to fight those was the competition nice? Were people giving you a good chance, or were you just wrecking people? Or how was it to design a costume? How was it?
I mean, it's really fun to just play BattleCon. It's one of those games where, since there is no luck, you feel like it's just skill. That said, the tournament scene it's not as big, so it feels like we're kind of blowing it out of proportion, but it's a small community and everyone is super nice. And yeah, I mean, everyone's really coming together, playing games and having fun, and that's what I'm looking for in a game, right? If I'm not having fun, then why am I playing the game? So yeah, there's that. That's the top of my list. It has to be fun for me, otherwise I won't. I don't really want to play the game anymore. It's
I guess that explains why you pick the teams that you pick, right?
I mean, my teams are always I always attempt to find some kind of balance in games, and if I'm good at a game, I usually pick strategies that people find weaker, or in the case of BattleCon, characters that people usually find weaker,
bad,
weaker or bad, or generally on the worst end, which is interesting for me, because I that makes me change up my strategy slightly, and it's it evolves my thinking of the game, and it's makes the problem a lot more interesting for me. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, you are a fellow Rifflum player, so we both know at the core of our hearts how fundamentally different Rifflum plays the game. I mean, we both play very different Rifflum strategies. Sure. I do think your strategy is superior to mine, but only because you're 10, 20 times better of a player than I am. I bet if you just adopted I don't know. Whatever, man. You can only do your strat because you're so good. Because you're so good, man. Oh my gosh, you're so good at this game.
I mean,
but
you're too kind. You're too kind.
Too kind? What the heck, dude? Okay, no, but you have like an 80-something% win rate. What the heck are you talking about?
My win rate isn't that high because when I'm not playing a tournament, I kind of relax and just go for fun random attacks, which
I see.
obviously makes my win rate worse. I could do like some of the other players, just make what's it called, sub accounts or something, so it would not affect my win rate. But hey, it's a game, right?
Yeah, it's a game. Look, dude, you're preaching to the choir over here. I have like a 27% win rate. Like, I do not care about win rates.
Yeah.
They're not that important to me. I'm not that kind of player. But yeah, dude, like Riflum fundamentally changes the way you think about the game. Because unlike many characters, instead of playing quote unquote your game, like I don't think there's a single character in BattleCon that just doesn't play their game. Like, who doesn't play their game? Because, like, Riflum seems to be the only character who has to play the opponent's game.
I mean, there are other characters. For example, Sherry would be considered like I'm not playing my game. I'm forcing my opponent to not play their games. So we're not playing any game. It's a weird one. But because of...
No, to be fair, I meant BattleCon Online. Because in BattleCon Physical, there's like 20 different characters that do that. There's Sagas, there's Cherry, there's Tannis. In fact, all of those characters are the characters you main. You just don't like to let people have fun, do you?
Well, there is your game plan, right? You want to be able to do anything better than me, so I just say no. I mean... I like control characters, and I like to control game. In Magic the Gathering, I would be the hated blue player because everyone hates the blue player.
After my own heart. I love playing blue. Yeah. I love playing blue. Ironically, I only play mono blues or mono red decks because I'm a horrible human being. So speaking of your BattleCon tournament experience, go to BattleCon Online. Recently, you've actually joined 2 BattleCon Online tournaments, and you ended up in the top 4 of both of them, though you didn't win. So I believe you played Bird's BattleCon Brawl and finished 3rd, as far as I know.
Yeah. Correct.
And then you played the Argent Arena and finished 2nd. So how was it playing BattleCon Online's tournament meta? Well, quote-unquote meta, because I don't think it's very well defined just yet. But how is it drastically different from BattleCon Offline's meta? Because people listening to this podcast might not have played or might not have the chance to play BattleCon physical competitively. But if they want to get into the tournament scene in BattleCon Online, how does it differ? What things should they be prioritizing? What do you feel like is the strat?
I mean, currently, the pool is smaller, which of course means that some characters stand out more than others. We don't really have enough control characters. Which
you mean we have none, right? We have like 1.
I mean, depending on how you play Karen, she can be a control character. Depending on how you play Riflum, he can be a controlled-ish character.
That's stretching it, man. That's stretching
and that's
like
kind of what I mean, right?
Fantastic.
Like I said before, Sherry is like a pure control character, and Ajena is like a pure control character. We have none of the pure control characters, which means that characters that brawl stronger usually wins. That means that characters like Cadenza currently is a lot stronger than he is in the board game, because you don't have the characters that just like, no, you don't do that, or hey, you can't do that. And that
except like Marmalee. Marmalee's like the only pure control we have, and she's the only, I think so far, the only like hugely positive win rate character against Cadenza, right?
Yeah, and Marmalee is a control character, but she's only a control character in some beats. You know what I mean?
Because in other beats she does nothing.
Yeah, because you have beats where you have to play like Barrier, and if you play Barrier, then you basically say, okay, this beat is a lost beat for me. Or you play Barrier Burst, which is probably the best way to use Barrier, in my opinion. Because it's a range 1 to 4 attack, due to her pushing 1 space when you move into contact with her and stuff like that. But that's just, icing on the cake. So I mean, Marmalade is a control character, but she's only a control character during some beats, and when she
has concentration,
Yeah.
essentially.
when she has 4 concentration, she's a control character. Below 4, she's below 4,
basically she's aggressive.
Below 4,
She's basically a brawler.
Yeah, I mean, not a brawler. I wouldn't say that. She's basically a dodge character. She can't do anything. You has to play Strike, Sorcerer's Strike, and stuff like that, which isn't super exciting.
It's just garbage, basically.
It's not super exciting. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, she has her game plan right, and once she gets up to the higher levels of concentration, she's really good. I mean, let's face it, you can't beat a Marmalade at 5 concentration counters.
Ever, no.
Basically, it's super hard. So there's that. Meanwhile, comparing it to Cadenza, which has threats all the time, but does not have the hit confirm, that's why Marmalade got a good matchup in that. A good game in that specific matchup, because attacks like Nullifying Burst and stuff like that just gives her
Magnificent
and Magnificent, and you have all the moves that are super great.
Yeah. It'll make Cadenza cry.
Yeah, which he deserves sometimes. But like I was talking to a friend who's like he's good at BattleCon, but we're playing on paper mainly. He's not that into online currently. But we were talking because I showed him the game and he played some matches, and he was like, with the current meta, there is no way for you to end up discarding all of Cadenza's tokens. It's basically impossible. And I found that to be an interesting statement, because
in BattleCon online or physical?
Online.
Online, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because on the board there is like a lot of characters that actually can remove all of his tokens.
Hepzibah, Vana,
Hepzibah, Vana. Yeah, if you have any discard token on your attack pair, you can remove all of them.
In like 4 beats.
Yeah, 3-4 beats. It's so crazy. So there's that, and that makes the character a lot stronger, of course, right?
Yeah. On average, as far as I know, a Cadenza doesn't use more than 2 iron bodies a game. Sometimes they use only 1. I think it has a lot to do with the force gauge system too. Certain attack pairs that weren't super good. I mean, here's the thing. Cadenza doesn't actually need to use force for anything. Right?
That's kind of the point about Cadenza, though. He basically has 1 force anti, which means that every other beat he basically has +1 power because he doesn't need anything else. Due to the fact that he has his iron body.
Stun guard.
Yeah, iron body.
Yeah, due to the fact that he basically has stun guard because of iron body or natural stats on his cards, and he never needs priority. In fact, you should never basically give him priority, right?
I mean, there are rare cases, I know, but yeah.
Post battery beats. I mean, obvious stuff. Post battery, of course, you need the priority, but how do I explain that? But at the end of the day, Cadenza's average power averages around 5, 6. That's a rotation of clockwork, hydraulic, and mechanical, for example. So that's 5, 5, 6. That's 16. But if Cadenza actually antis power on every single one of those attacks, Cadenza ends up getting 19 damage instead. And that's a huge difference, right?
Agreed.
Lowering someone to 1 health is significantly different from lowering someone to 4 health, because at 1 health, literally any attack will kill them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's breakpoints like that I feel make exacerbate Cadenza's strength in BattleCon online.
Yeah, and that's fair, right? But if you look at my team that I actually got to BattleCon online, the last tournament, which was Schecter, Riflem, and Maggie.
Maggie.
I mean, Schecter got a chance against Cadenza, but Riflem and Maggie both have such bad times against him that it's kind of hard to, get your energy up. So it was a forced ban every time I faced the Cadenza, which is not fun because I like playing Cadenza once you have characters that actually has a matchup against him.
Yeah, it's fun, right? It's fun to actually fight Cadenza.
Yeah.
Contrary to what many people say, if your character has a decent matchup against him, like even like a 6-4,
yeah,
it's an okay game.
If you have the possibility to win against Cadenza, the matchup is really fun actually, because it's all about predicting when will the big styles drop.
Clockworks.
I mean, Clockwork is probably not his best style. It's just his most dangerous style.
It's hydraulic, right?
Hydraulic is.
It's hydraulic.
At least in the board game, hydraulic is the best style. But yeah, I mean...
Alright, we nerfed it in BattleCon Online.
Yeah, it's -1 power, which I find... It's still good, but it's not as good, and obviously...
Sorry, you mean -1 power. So it's power plus 1
instead
of power plus
right,
2,
right. Did I say -1
Not
power?
-1 power. Not -1 power. That's bad. That's a real bad style.
Yeah, then it would not be as good. That's just...
So now I think it would probably be mechanical, right? Like mechanical is super good.
Mechanical is power plus 2, -2 powers. It's okay. It's kind of like Clock. I would say his styles have a general, power line where Battery and Grapnel are his weakest styles. And I mean, Grapnel is his weakest style, but it's one of those styles that you just use it sometimes, and when you use it, it's really, really good. Some characters got that, but yeah.
Kind of like Substantial and Rifflum, except, Cadenza actually gets to use it more often than Rifflum gets to use Substantial, but whatever, man.
Yeah, I mean, Substantial is actually really good if you can surprise someone with it.
If you can surprise someone with it. That's the problem, Charles.
Yeah, I know.
It never happens. It never happens. Especially if I'm fighting someone like you, it never happens.
I mean, it could happen, right?
No, only when you're only maybe when you're like chilling out, man. But like when you're into it and you're into like full calculator, man, like no way. It'll never happen.
The thing is, Substantial with Riftland has a drawback. So it's scary, and when you play it, it's super scary. But yeah, I'm usually the guy that calculates threats and tries to put a clash on the high level threat.
Of course, always.
Yeah.
Optimal BattleCon play, always.
That said, I sometimes play really weirdly to put my opponents off. I mainly due to the fact that if you play optimally all the time, the strongest statted character usually wins. And since the characters I play don't usually have the best stat line, I play weirdly sometimes, and that makes me unpredictable.
You have to, right?
And people has told me that you're crazy. Why would you not play around like Hunter's Snare or things like that, where I'm just but it's like just 7 damage. I'll just play into it.
Oh my gosh, what a madman. I mean, like, this is why you play Install on Rifflum, you insane person.
That if you're starting to play Install, I know that I can clash it, and Install can become super, super powerful. But it's never Rifflum's strongest. It will never be Rifflum's strongest style, and if you're just, buffing your Install, it becomes really relevant. But you will never hit with it, and then you will lose the game because I have 3 styles. And that's kind of the game with Rifflum, that you either choose to go super hard.
Buff Install or not.
Either you choose to buff 1 style, I would say, or you choose to buff 3 styles.
You mean bases?
Yeah, bases. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that school of thought, right? Like, you either have to go hard in on one thing, which usually ends up being Install, right? I mean, like, come on. Or you go hard on, like, you spread your stuff. So that's usually the way I play it. Like, you spread your stuff, and then you, like the madman you are, do the buff one thing, and like I guess it really depends on who you are as a player. I'm not really sure which style or which play style is better. I think it really depends on the matchup.
It depends
right?
on the
I
matchup,
think
right?
both play styles.
For example,
Yeah.
if you're playing against Seven, she has absorption, so you can't actually just play one
Good card.
one
Yeah,
good card
it's not
because
possible.
you have to put out power on other things as well. Otherwise, you will be stuck, and
You will lose.
you will lose, or you have to bluff through her absorption, which is not as fun as it sounds. And if she also has upgraded her undaunted into terrifying.
Oh, you're dead.
You're dead.
You are so
You've
dead.
lost because you can't actually push through that.
Both. You can't push through both threats, right?
No.
Like, because she will just absorption, terrifying, dodge.
Yeah.
Like rotate that, and then there's basically nothing you can do.
No, exactly, and that's kind of the thing. It becomes super predictable, but Riflem doesn't always have the way to deal with it. Anyway, we've been talking way too much about Riflem. That's what happens when.
No, it's okay. That's fine. When you get two Riffle mains talking, man.
That's the thing about Riflem's stats, though. All his things becomes super weird. It becomes like, oh, my grasp is priority of 10. Well, that happened.
You're not stopping me. Yeah. What other crazy stuff? Like, it's like I have a priority 5 burst.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
I mean, I don't think my record is like stun guard 16 or something on install.
Wow.
And it's super unnecessary, and that's kind of the reason why.
Like at that point in the game, you don't have more than 10 life.
No, exactly.
So if you ever have to take more than 10, you're dead. So it doesn't matter. So enough about Riflem. This turned into a Riflem segment. Yeah. Let's end this one with. So that's the meta right now, right? Basically, it's dominated by high stat characters.
Yeah.
And it's a mix of multiple factors, right? Number one, the pool isn't big enough. We don't have enough control characters to keep the stat boys in check. But I also think it's a player-based issue. So BattleCon Online has been way more penetrative than BattleCon Physical. So it means basically we have players who have basically never played the card game before, or basically never play board games before, and they just came on and because they saw it on Reddit or something like that. So a lot of the player base is actually relatively new to the BattleCon scene, and I think that kind of heavily affects the meta in a way that makes high stat characters much more prevalent and at least much more in the limelight, because basically characters like Cadenza and Schecter are we always use this term in game design, right? Like walls, right? They're walls. Yeah. To newbies, they're really, really hard to beat because it's like, how can I beat you if you always just eat it with stun guard and then hit me back?
Yeah.
But they don't realize that dodging and positioning is a thing like that, right?
Agreed. I mean, all characters which has superior stats, regardless of stats, basically wins until you realize how you beat that stat. Be that soak or be that stun guard or power or priority, whatever.
Yeah. Usually at the end of the day, no matter what the stat you're trying to beat is, usually the correct answer is always positioning, right? Like every stat falls to positioning. In fact, the only stat that doesn't is range. But even then, right? Like spacing correctly, range doesn't matter.
Usually range is like the stat that is super weird to talk about, I think, because it's the characters with the best range ability usually have it on movement and not on the range stat plus 0 to X.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, when I say range, I obviously mean also effective range, right? Yeah. Like Luke, for example, like he's completely melee, but the guy has like 17 attack pairs that will hit you from range 5. That's just how it works.
And that's kind of the thing, right? Because when you say that Luke is a purely melee character and that he has incredible range, then you go up against characters like, let me think, like Seth, which just plays fools.
Absolute melee.
Yeah, fools.
Oh yeah.
I mean, fools just wins against
everything Luke plays. everything.
With the exception of
replaced.
fainting flash, I think, which is a weird attack pair.
Oh, I mean anything with shot too, but like
Yeah,
you know what
I mean, but the problem with that is that shot usually you usually guess shot and play like a drive or something, so you win over it anyway. So
yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair.
so there's that. Yeah, it's a weird one, right? But
Yeah, it is weird, but it's I mean like it's basically a stat that it's a very complex stat because range is like there's no other stat in the game I think that basically has quote unquote two sources. You know what I mean? Like how do I put it that way? Like
yeah, you don't have any minimum
movement.
or maximum, right?
Yeah, I mean like for example, range is basically a combination of your actual range and your movement capabilities. But power isn't a combination of anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean like or like priority isn't something plus something, it's just priority. But range, or I think it's best to just call it the thing I call it, hit confirm. Hit confirm is essentially range plus movement, right? And no other stat in the game is actually a conglomeration of two stats.
Oh, I think Clintide is basically the strongest, to hit confirm character because he has both range, actual range, and the movement to back it up. Okay.
Yeah. I think I agree with her, right? Like he has movement on toxic and shock, and then he has range on phase and diffusion.
Yeah.
He actually has range from his overdrive finisher, I think.
Yeah, if he plays the plus 0-2 range attack, then he will have the extra range on everything as well, and he will also have. He also has frenzy, which is range, right? No, that's Toxic has one move, I think.
Yeah. Toxic is movement for every stim he has, right?
Something like that.
And Frenzy's power for every stim he has. But yeah, like Glenn Hyde has a lot of movement. I think like he has at least 3 full board range attacks.
Oh, at least I think it might even be more because of shots and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he has shock, he has gravity, he has phase, right?
And he has drive,
and he has toxic.
I mean, he gets so much movement, and if he successfully makes his 1 life finisher, which basically makes him have 1 life for the rest of the game, he has plus 0-2 range on all his attacks. So yeah, hit confirm will never be a problem again.
Yeah, I think that's like one thing I really like about playing Clint Hyde is that even optimal Clint Hyde play usually involves you dropping down to 1 health. Like, no pro Clint Hyde player would ever have more than 5 health at the end of a game, no matter how dominating his performance is.
That's why I made the argument for having his life loss being in the end of the beat instead of after anti, which I got some, backlash for. Because
I see.
Yeah. But,
I mean, it does... Yeah, it does change a lot of things. I mean, like, essentially it only matters near the end, right? Where that extra damage you take from your stims can affect whether or not somebody can kill you.
Well, it would make his deactivate styles a lot better as well, because you wouldn't take the life loss from them. But yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. That'll be pretty good. Yeah. Like, he could just toxic frenzy and then like not take any life loss, right?
Exactly.
Ooh, that's pretty strong. Wow.
That would be like a 2 life deficit or something. So yeah, it's really good, and it might be too good, but I've always felt
it might be too good.
I've always felt like he's on the slightly weak side, so I wouldn't have a problem with that. But it's definitely something that I would like to playtest on a bigger scale than just my own ideas around it.
Yeah. I think though that a lot of his weakness doesn't actually come from the stims and the life loss, and actually comes from the his fundamental play style.
Oh yeah, he's suicidal.
I think that's
he's crazy.
Yeah, he's I mean, like, it's not just suicidal because he loses life and the stims, right? Yeah. Like, he is actually suicidal in the sense that his entire game plan revolves around, like, 50-50 mix-ups.
Yeah.
Like, basically, Clint Hyde isn't a character that wins because he's good. Clint Hyde is a character who wins because his opponent messes up. That's it. Like, that's the only reason he ever wins any game. And essentially he has no quote-unquote control over whether or not he wins the game. All that matters is the opponent makes a mistake and he gets to capitalize on it. But if the opponent somehow plays optimally 100% of the time, Clint Hyde basically never wins. And that's like the saddest thing.
I mean, I find that Clint Hyde is super interesting regarding... Anyway, I was thinking, we should talk some balance as well, unless this podcast is already up to an hour, basically.
It's basically an hour now. I mean, like, I can cut out some parts about Rifflum if you want to talk about some balancing.
I mean, we could be fine as well. I mean, we could talk about this another time otherwise if you want to. But
otherwise.
Otherwise.
Oh my god. So, I mean, like, here's the thing. Maybe that's just a reason for you to come back for the next podcast, right? Like, people want to know your ideas about balance.
I mean, that's fine. If people want to find out about balance, that's cool. I'm sure I don't have all the information, and people basically have differing thoughts than me. But yeah, I would love to come back, because it's always a pleasure talking to you, Marco.
Oh my gosh, you're always a blast to have on this podcast. Besides, here's the thing, man. You can have opinions about things. They can have opinions about things. But are they 3-time world champ? Huh?
I would guess not, but, that we have some really strong players out there anyway. I'm not unbeatable.
Who are you most scared of? who are you most scared of?
Oh, I don't know, really. I mean, I really like playing a lot of people. And once people get super excited for beating me, I get super happy because people get excited for beating me. I'm not sure. And the fact that people, really like playing me is a lot of fun. I have great respect for Elephant because of the way she plays. And the characters that she plays, she is always a challenge to face off against. And
I mean, because Ali is a spike, but yeah.
I mean, that's true. But at the same time, we always have good discussions afterwards. The times we actually get to play, because we tend to not have the same playing hours, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that happens.
That happens. All right, so let's end this segment off with one more question. Okay. Charles, how do you think Anath will change up the meta? Or will she even change the meta at all? Like, you know what Anath is.
Yeah, I know what Anath is. I'm not sure. I mean, she's a new character, and I think she will be... She'll be okay. I'm not sure she will impact as much as some of the other characters has. I think Marmaley changes, making Marmaley an actual playable character, is basically still having the most impact on the current meta. And I think characters like we've been saying for a while, that's Seraphina, for example, will have a bigger impact than Anath will. That said, Anath is super interesting, and she's a character that you don't have in the tabletop game. So my guess is she will be super hot for a while, and then she will cool off, and become like Hikaru, basically. So she'll be at the strength of Hikaru, I would assume, at the end of the day. Something like that.
Which is kind of funny, because she basically plays like Mega Hikaru, right?
I mean, she did. Now she's slightly weaker due to the fact that, she should be balanced and not like a mini-boss.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course. But, like, at the end of the day, like, Anath's playstyle is basically... You take Hikaru's strengths and turn them up to 11, but you also exacerbate Hikaru's weaknesses, right? Like, you take Hikaru's strengths and make them stronger, and take Hikaru's weaknesses and make them even worse.
Yeah. That's
basically
fair. I mean,
yeah, basically that's what she is, right?
Yeah, and then we have the opposite of it, which is Evil Hikaru, the promo character, which is super fun as well. But yeah, it's he's.
I can't wait for that skin. I can't wait for that Evil Hikaru skin.
The Evil Hikaru
release with Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what the Evil Hikaru skin is?
Yeah, I know the Evil Hikaru skin.
Oh my gosh.
Why?
All right. So.
Why? Yeah. Anyway.
Why? I mean, like, why? Oh my gosh. Anyway. Oh my gosh. We need to end this podcast, man. I mean, like, I love talking to you. You're, like, a great conversation.
Oh.
Your insight knows no bounds. But time is not endless, and we must end this podcast, unfortunately. Are you okay with that, Charles?
I'm totally fine with that, Marco. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh man, it's been a pleasure having you on. As usual, if you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions, especially comments for Charles, like I bet Charles would be fine answering your questions. And if he's not, fine, I'll force him. Are you okay with that? I'll force you to answer questions.
Well, I'll be forced, right? So I don't have any choice.
Indeed. See, you're playing along with it. All right, that's great. Please ask them in the comment section down below. If you want to send questions to the Level 99 staff, me, Brad, Laura, Cameron, etc. Okay, I'm going to mention Daniel Honig. I'm going to mention I3. I mean, who else am I missing? Chad, I guess, but I haven't had him in the podcast yet. Please send it to our Google Forms, which is also found in the description down below. If you're listening to this, Imperial Spells and Steam is still up on Kickstarter. Please consider supporting it. It's a great game, approved by Charles, right?
Definitely.
See? Charles approved. So please consider backing it. The link for which can be found in the description down below as well. So without much else to say, thank you so much for watching. As usual, it has been me, your host, Marky Dos Santos, also known as Mechanic Critic, also known as Eminem Kami, also known as some random Asian guy. As well as with me has been my wonderful 3-time world champ host,
Charles Engström.
Also known as...
Moon Knight, I guess.
Alright, and without much else to say, thank you, World of Indians. Thank you, and good night.
And otherwise.